like it could have been prevented. The death could have been prevented. Y'all could have wounded him or something, but not 15 shots.
Karis Kamal is mourning the loss of her 30-year-old brother, Abdul. He was shot and killed by police early this morning after they were called to Stanley Street in Irvington.
As the criminal justice system continues to fail to prosecute police officers who kill unarmed civilians on routine calls, the media has focused on two very high-profile cases: the Mike Brown shooting in Ferguson, Missouri, and the Eric Garner choking death in New York. However, this is not the extent of the epidemic that is sweeping this country. ASN sat down with the parents of another victim, Abdul Kamal, and here is our look at what they had to say.
Abdul was, I won't say average at all, because he was very involved in a little bit of everything. He was a smart kid coming up. He went to private school. He was top of his class, enjoyed all types of sports. I coached him in football, Part 1 football all the way through high school. He took a lot of pride in his personal appearance. He was a very good, I think he grew up to be a very, very decent young man. You know, he was outgoing. He was one of those ones that was involved. You know, he stayed involved in all types of things, and very active. You know, he was a good son, a really good son that really missed.
When I met Abdul, Abdul was 11 years old. And I used to say that he was one of the most mannerable young men that I had ever came across. He opened doors for women. He was pleasant. He respected his elders. He respected authority. He was most passionate about his religion. Even from a young age. He just was a good kid. And he was a jokester. He cracked jokes on everybody. No one was immune from his gesturing. And that is one of, for me, the saddest things about his murder is that laughter.
So, Abdul, Mohammed, we have seen time and time again the parents of murdered children calling for peace in the time leading up to the pending grand jury decision on whether or not the officers involved in the shooting of their children will be charged. And then even after, we've seen some controversy about parents who maybe don't have the ability to echo certain leaders' calls for peace. And I know I've talked to you earlier today about your emotion in this, and I just want you to share that with us.
Well, I think most of them don't really understand what peace is. I have to honestly say that. I think the average African American that you run across, period, right, really don't understand what peace is. We never had it. So we call for peace because we want it so bad. We want to be peaceful, and we want things to be better because we just had it so bad. And I don't think the average Caucasian probably could really understand that or relate to that. So when you see someone's child slain, and then they get on TV the next day and say, I just want peace, it's because they've been having such a hard time so long and past that point that they just want peace now because you done broke them. But that's not the case with me. That's not the case with me. I've been struggling, and I've been going through all types of stuff, but it's kind of hard to want to kiss and hug on you when you punching and kicking on me. So I don't want to condone anybody going out hurting anybody, but I will. But I do notice that you have hurt me, and so I just want that, I mean, I'm gonna be clear about that, and my family gonna be clear about that. My daughters, my grandkids, we have explained to them, and Abdul was that way, because I mean, Abdul up to his death as a young man he had lost his shine and his glow about society, because being African American in this country is taxing, to say the least. Every aspect of your life is under a microscope. Everything. When you walk in a store, you're being scrutinized and looked at as a thief already. You could be ready to bring that store a large profit. You get ready to spend thousands of dollars like we do. And when you walk in that store, the people are looking at you like you're gonna steal, and the thief over there is probably stealing. You probably the decoy for them. And when you go to a job, you have to be 10 times more qualified than you need to be, than the average person need to be. I said the average Caucasian need to be. So no, what I would say to, and I am in that situation. What I would say, if that question asking me if I was on CNN or one of these other things, and they asked me that, I'm not calling for no peace about nothing. I want revenge. I want justice. I want accountability. That's when you give me these things, when you be accountable for what you did to me and my family, then we could talk about peace. Until then, I really don't even want to see you. You took my son. You killed you cut off my existence and my family. So, and if some people look at that and say, well, he's mad. Yes, I am. I mean, you killed my son. I see people go off the war, kids go overseas fighting in countries that they probably really shouldn't be in, and when they die, these people don't say, hey, listen, let's come back, don't fight. No, they don't say that. They say, they really take the attitude they take is, well, why did my boy get killed? He was at war. My son wasn't at war. My son was living in America, free enterprise, free country, and was shot down like he was in Afghanistan. So
now let's go to the shooting.
Can I say one thing to that? There is not a parent in the 409 lives that were taken last year by police brutality. There's not a parent in their right mind who has had some peace since their child was murdered.
Nope.
There is, so you are. I mean, I hear it all the time. Let's just call for peace. Peace has never gotten us anywhere. That's why we go to war. So, in every war, lives will be taken. We know that. They are already taken. So we are at war. There is no peace. You cannot have both of them, not at the same time. So any mother who has had her child stripped from her and she hollering peace, she must be doing that for other reasons, because there's no way she's doing that because she's trying to get justice for her son or her daughter.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the night of the shooting. Describe to me in your own words what you know about the incident.
What we know is that Abdul was upset. He was hurting, and he knew that police were looking for him because violation of a protective order or restraining order. And he wanted to see his daughter before he turned himself in. Hence why on his way to the home that he had lived in, he called the police himself, Irvington police, to tell them exactly where he was and where he would be. We know from the landlord that spoke to Abdul just moments before he was murdered that Abdul wasn't upset to him. He actually told me that he was in a he was talking calmly. He was not yelling. He was very apologetic for the noise and the and any discomfort he had caused to the landlord. During their conversation, the 2 police cars showed up, 4 officers total at that point. According to the landlord, police officers got out of the car, guns were drawn, and he walked away and went back into his home. Within minutes, maybe 5 or less, he heard a barrage of bullets, and Abdul laid at the end of the dead-end street with 10 bullets in his body and dead.
Well, I spoke to him right before it happened. He was angry and hurt. He was really hurt. He really wanted to make his family work, and he couldn't seem to get that and get a grip on that. And me and one of his friends, that's a police officer, we was on a 3-way call, and we was just telling him that, it's going to be all right, and that he maybe should wait till tomorrow, or whatever the case may be, because it was late, and his going to the house so late could be misconstrued. And actually, I was trying to stall him until his friend, that's a newer police officer, get to where he was at to talk to him once he get there, and get him to take him with him, and whatever case would be, until he calmed down or whatever. But if you knew Abdul, you would knew how much he loved his daughter. I think the love for his, I didn't think it was possible. The love that I had for my son, that any father would love their child more than that. But once you seen the interaction between Abdul and his daughter, he was so in love with this little girl. He just, she was everything to him. And so, through high water, hell, he had to get there. And that's what fathers do. And I kind of scolded him pretty hard about, listen, man, you just need to let this go and just deal with it tomorrow. And I lost connection. And when I tried to call him back, his phone just rang. It just went to a dead ring. And 20 minutes or so later, the young lady that he was married to, father, actually called me, because she had called her dad, and he said to me, they got your son. So to me not knowing that when he said they got your son, I'm thinking, okay, he went there, he got arrested, we'll deal with it tomorrow, let's go to bed. I told my wife they arrested him. All right, we'll just call and figure out what we're gonna do tomorrow. And then his sister called 2-3 minutes right after that, and I'll never forget this. She when I answered the phone, she yelled out, "Daddy," very loud, and she said they killed Abdul. And I said, and I'm trying to make sense. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. What do you mean they killed him? And she said, he's laying on the sidewalk. They won't let me down there. He is just laying there. They shot him. They killed him. And I'm shocked. I'm 1,800 miles away or whatever it is from Newark to St. Louis, and I'm like, I'm just trying to grasp for air at this point, and I'm telling my wife, and she looking at me like, this can't be. We just got off the phone with him, and he was just out here a week ago, or 2 weeks ago, and that was the last time I spoke to him.
Actually, it was 2 months ago. Abdul had, because of this restraining order or order of protection,
Right.
was arrested in August of 2013,
Right.
and was
Felt like it was,
released on November the 7th of 2013,
Right.
and was murdered on November the 11th. So literally within 4 days of leaving police custody, he was killed by police
For the
4
same
days later,
for the same restraining order that he'd been.
dealing with for 2 years.
Yeah.
So that restraining order, Abdul shared a home with his family, with the same woman who had the restraining order. And no one knew about this restraining order. Well, the landlord didn't, who lived downstairs, and said that he had no idea because he never, they argued like any married couple do, but it had never gotten physical in his presence or to his knowledge. So hence why he didn't think anything of a restraining order. He thought that was something new. But the restraining order is actually from 2011.
You said your daughter had called you and told you she could not get down to where her brother was laying on the street. And to me that strikes a lot of parallel with the way the crime scene was handled here in Ferguson with the Mike Brown shooting.
There are some similarities. However, Abdul was the differences are Abdul was shot 10 times total, and his body laid out in the street longer than Michael's. I believe they said Michael's body laid in the street for 4.5 hours. Abdul was killed about 2:10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and at 7 o'clock a.m. his body was still in the street. And it is not until about 7:30 or 8 o'clock in the morning, Eastern Standard Time, that his body was finally removed from the crime scene.
Now, I understand that you had some difficulty acquiring an autopsy report, an initial incident report.
Difficulty is an understatement. We haven't received any of that information. We went with the Sunshine Act. No, they have to provide us with at least the recordings from Abdul calling. His wife actually called as well, the police department or 911. Abdul's mother even called as well. But by the time his mom had called, Abdul was already dead. And so we don't know anything about anything. More than a year later, we are still waiting to go before the grand jury, his case. And what's disturbing, to say the least, the fact that the officer involved in Michael's murder, there was no bill returned by the grand jury, and then just a day ago, a no bill returned by the officer that killed Eric Garner. So we are losing hope, to say the least, that a case that no one seems to know about, the fact that there's been so much eyes, or so many eyes on these two high-profile cases, us getting justice at this point is, the hope for that is slipping away. At least for me, it is.
I even these high-profile cases, if you really looked at it, it's probably been in a year time from, I know, from Jersey even to here. Here has probably been more cases than we're talking about. I mean, more than Mike Brown. And I know for a fact in Jersey it's more. So it's probably done happened 50, 60, maybe 70 times. I mean, police officers constantly shoot people, and it's, I think America, when I say America, I mean in the system or occasions, or because it don't affect them the same way, they look at this as a duty. So I mean, Abdul's case is just one of the cases that if it wouldn't be for his family, would have just been under the rug like all the rest of them. I mean, but if you really look into it, his case is not the only case. There's so many cases, and and to show you that there's so many cases, even the high-profile ones, where everybody is looking by under the microscope of media and everything. It's not even. It don't mean nothing. It means something to the family, and it means something to people with conscience, and there's very few people with conscience. But it means nothing to the masses of people, because the masses of people it don't affect. It don't affect Mayberry. You know, it don't happen in Mayberry. It only happens in the inner cities and predominantly black children. So it don't mean nothing, because most people don't even consider them anything. They don't. They don't consider a young man's life worth nothing. Nothing at all. So that's why, that's going back to the anger thing. That's why I don't understand why, you know, when a building catch a fire or when a window get broke, everybody gets so upset. You can fix that window. You can rebuild a building. You know, you can get a new car that burnt because the people was angry. But you can't replace that child. And so it's so many cases. There's so many cases. The reason we reached out to everybody, but we didn't do, if we would have, we did what a red-blooded, well, we can't say red-blooded because they don't consider us red-blooded, even though our blood is red, and then at the blood bank you would use it. But what a good, decent person, American, supposed to do? We went and spoke to the prosecutors. We talked to the mayor. We talked to the police. We did everything. We interviewed. We marched. We did everything. We kept it non-violent. We didn't do anything. Even people came to us, young people that loved Abdul, came to us and wanted to vent their anger out. We discouraged it. And not one thing for 1 year, all the way up until Mike Brown, nothing. We got nothing. We got nothing but excuse after excuse after excuse. Nothing.
Well, when Abdul, before even Abdul's janaza, the NA and the president of that chapter, and it actually was East Orange, New Jersey, which is probably 15 or 20 minutes from Irvington, New Jersey, reached out to us. And that's the National Action Network. So they did reach out to us. I reached out to the NAACP because I had just became a member in September of 2013, and who knew 2 months later I would be calling them, asking them for some help. So we went to these grassroots organizations for assistance because we knew something was wrong. Whenever, we read the papers and the comments supposedly made by the acting Essex County prosecutor, it seemingly is justified. Well, when you start saying that the murder of unarmed black civilians is seemingly justified, we have a problem. And that just goes to show Abdul was killed on November the 11th, 2013, and more than a year later, you can't count how many other people of color have been murdered by those in law enforcement. And so when people say that it's a white-black thing or a black-white thing, that's not true. Because Abdul was killed by 2 black officers and 1 Hispanic. So it's a blue black thing. So it's something wrong with that system. And it just doesn't happen, on the East Coast or the Midwest or on the West Coast. This is a national problem. So I don't know how many police officers there are, and I know they're all are not bad. But when you have one that's bad in your department, then you need to get rid of that one, because that one is going to make the others rotten. And that's what that comes from when you have black officers who are probably worse than white officers, quite frankly, because they have something to prove. And they gotta, let their Caucasian brothers in blue know that, I'm just not gonna let this Negro get away with it because he's black. So they go extra. I mean, you can YouTube any amount of police brutality cases and you see it. So, body cameras, okay, but if the grand jury is off in Alice in Wonderland, a body camera is not gonna do us any good. It's their thinking that needs to change. And body cameras, okay, but we got 14 minutes of tape of Eric Garner getting murdered, and still that cop is walking away free.
So I got one final question, and it's in regards to the amount of public outcry that we have seen over the last 8 months. As these cases have came to national attention, we've seen more and more protests in more and more cities, and now we're seeing that it's a nationwide outcry to stop police killings, to stop the use of excessive force, to stop the question of whether or not an officer was justified in his use of deadly force. The president is asking for a change in tactics. Do you see any hope for a sustainable change as long as society is now becoming aware of these murders, such as your son's death, such as Eric Garner, such as Michael Brown, Trayvon Martin, and the list goes on and on?
At the cost of how many more lives? So this has been going on for a very long time. At the heart of most racist organizations lies police officers, and a lot of them. That's been going on for eons. So how many more have to die? How many more bodies have to pile up? How many marches, protests, and, how many more before this change comes? I mean, you can, gather all the committees you want in the world. We know it's not going to bring any of these 3 young men back. But how many more are going to die while we keep trying to be politically correct?
Well,
so no.
I think what we're seeing is youth. I think young people that's not restricted by all the wants in life, and young people always been part of change. Young people and women. So they seem to be the 2 groups that you can most affect. If you look at back through history, most of the major changes in this country has been young people, young radical people that didn't worry about losing a house, a car, a job, or whatever the case may be, or women that had enough or felt like it's going to get to the point where it's threatening to them. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what we're seeing. I think we're seeing Ferguson. I think it's those are young people, and then the sympathy for the baby. I think women come behind that. When you see young people out in the street, women gravitate toward that because they're mothers, and I think the last to come will be fathers and men. Men seem to be the last ones that hold out, and but this time, this is so so big, so much of a giant that I think it's going to even take a little more than that. And a lot of people may get mad at me, and I may even get some type of arrest from behind this. But this is what America needs. We run to aid to every country, everybody. If this was happening in Bosnia, we'd be over there talking about we need to do something, go over there and you don't gas them, don't use this, don't do that. If this was happening in some other country, Russia, we everywhere. And I'm done with the president, done with it, because this is straight bull crap. If you go back 30 years and count the deaths that we have endured for police departments, it can match any war that this country done went to. It can match that. Those deaths can match that. So if this was happening to another group, especially Caucasians, if this massive death total was happening to them, the National Guard would have been out and they would have been trying to solve this problem. They would have replaced every police station. They would shut them down. They would shut the police down and say, until you're able to get the right training, you're not going back on the street because we're going to let you kill no more of our sons. But that's not the case. I don't think the help that we need is going to come from the United States. I don't. I think maybe somebody else from somewhere else will have sympathy for the black man in America, and maybe that they. And I think in a case like that, then you will see a greater change. I think right now they feel like we locked in a box. Nobody can help you but us. So you got to wait until we get ready to help you. We only 13% population-wise in this country. It's not, so that's a very small number to 78% and 76% of the massive population. So for real, you can play your game with this all you want to. You cried about apartheid. This is apartheid. This is what this is. This is apartheid. You killing me and you telling me I can't do nothing but sing, walk up and down the street and sing? That's all you want me to do is sing? You're not giving me any other grounds to do nothing else. If one car catch a fire, it's massive news. It go all over the world. They burnt a car. This building caught a fire. So I appeal. I think the African American here in this country, I think we should look elsewhere. I don't think we should look to this government to do nothing for us, because they ain't never do nothing anyway. This problem been going on for since slavery ended. This has been happening. People don't want to bring that out. That's why I say when you say peace, it ain't been. They asking for peace because it ain't never been peace. War been on us from leaving the slave master's plantation. You've been doing this to us. You've been murdering us. You've been killing us. You've been raping our women, and you've been utilizing us as a crop. We've been a crop for America. We like corn, okay? And you gather much as you want. You use us for a workforce, and what you don't need, you lock the rest of it up, and you make money off of that too. So but America's mistake, I think, is you pushing and pulling too many people. And when you keep doing this, we are open commodity. We are open group of people for help us. Maybe Russia or some other country, maybe somebody else may have interest in saying, let us help you. And then you will see a change. You'll see a whole different look. Maybe somebody else need to be what America say they is to the African Americans inside the United States. Because then you have a serious problem then. Then you'll have a serious problem. Because all we've been asking for since we've been here, and we didn't actually come, we've been asking for is peace. Treat me like we treat you. That's why, and so just to end this, that's why so many families say we just want peace, because they never had peace. They want peace because every day that boy was alive, they worried about him getting killed. Every day. Until he got killed. And now it still don't end, because now you still missing him. So that's my take on it. And I'm not gonna ask for peace. I want justice. I want accountability, And I don't care what, I don't care, like, I wouldn't care about I lose my property, my car, none of that. You took the greatest thing in my life from me, you took my son. So you can bring anything else that you got now. That's where I'm at with it.
Why do we not demand it? Shot at 15 times and 10 bullets hit. Families fall apart under this kind of man. Why did they feel they had to take my son?